I can talk from a state level, or even to to the district, or in some cases individual schools and libraries. Definitely, the growth is exponential every year. We actually have some what I'll call local bottlenecks today in those tail circuits that are holding some of it back. We're fortunate that our state backbone and even our out-of-state connectivity, by and large, the transport part is not sensitive to bandwidth increases. So it's a one-time equipment cost to light up another 10 gig connection. The internet service part has shrunk so much over the years that it almost is irrelevant compared to the cost of the actual circuits themselves. We've gone from, when MS1 started, a megabit of internet access cost about $1,000 a month, and now it's less than $1 a month. So that part of it is not the challenge. Where we are challenged today is in that last mile, and that what people often call the local broadband connection. That is very sensitive, price-wise or cost-wise, to the size of the pipe. With any luck, with this next RFP process, we'll hit that next lower plateau that will drive that, give you some other sense of measurements. So we had a 5-year contract. When we went out 4.5 years ago for bidding for transport, we asked for a minimum connectivity level of 3 megabits per second as part of the RFP. We were able to contract such that every school and library in the state had a minimum of 10 megabits connection. We're going out to RFP this year, 4.5 years later, asking for a minimum of 100 megabits connection. So you get a sense of just how quickly it tiers up over time.
And definitely it goes to the consumer level of how much that kids can get these days. Hopefully this will be aired after December 25th. But I was able to purchase a Chromebook for my daughter for $149 at Staples. When the prices of technology are dropping so quickly, that's just putting such a demand on school networks. Especially if you built it so that it can be open to the public. Like I said earlier, the number of kids who are bringing in an Amazon Kindle to read, or bringing in a Chromebook from home, those things are, just driving up the demand. Where, if I knew Jeff was in a good mood, I would be saying, how can we bump our level up from 100 to 300? Because I know that within 18 months, we're going to be crashing past our data needs right now. I mean, I already see the handwriting on the wall. So it's that, as more things become available at a cheaper price point, we're just seeing that demand increase.
And really, we're in a mode where bandwidth is positioned in a scarcity model. I mean, from the service providers. Truly, I believe, if we were to whatever bandwidth we delivered to schools and libraries, within 18 months they would be consuming it all. What you see is people or schools, students, teachers consume up to the point where it becomes uncomfortable or too slow to be usable or whatnot, and then they back off. If you remove that constraint, if you remove that scarcity, the growth just keeps on continuing. As long as it's a good experience for students and they're not wasting their time watching the circle spin, they just keep on doing more because they don't think about it. I mean, it's there. It's like breathing. Bandwidth is almost like air. We really need to get to that point.
The other thing I think that we've found is that you have schools in general that have this growth in what they need and what they're using, and then you also have these, as Jeff was saying, when you're looking forward, you have these periodic kind of spikes because maybe next year Michael's school decides, okay, we're ready to go one-to-one, and all of a sudden the 400 or 500 kids there now all have a device, and as Jeff said, then because they can do something, they'll do it. And increasingly, we're seeing in Maine more and more districts that are not only expanding the one-to-one effort up through the high school years, but also down through kindergarten. A number of districts that have one-to-one programs beginning all the way with the youngest children. And they consume bandwidth just like the older kids. In fact, sometimes you get some of the older kids in a more traditional environment. They're not consuming as much because maybe they're writing a paper and doing some internet research. And you might have a lot of young kids watching more video or some of these things. So there's really no sense of bandwidth follows an age. I think it all over the place. You've got people using bandwidth from the youngest to the oldest. And so, that's the other challenge, is recognizing when a school sees one of those kind of looking forward spikes where you're going to go from, say, your computer lab model to a one-to-one model. You've got to, it's got to be a little bit more than that, just kind of doubling in that first year potentially. It could explode more, or it may be that there's a lull year as people kind of settle in and figure out what can we do. But it'll happen, and then it kind of resets the norm as to what that school consumes and needs.